you so much for joining me today. I was wondering if it would be all right to ask you a few questions about your experience with Qigong.
Of course, I'd love to.
Wonderful. How long have you been doing Qigong?
Probably just about 4 or 5 months, pretty much on a weekly basis.
Oh, wonderful. And have you noticed any difference in your health or in your life in general?
Well, my particular situation is probably a little different. I lost my arm and my shoulder to cancer when I was 16 years old. So I'm a left arm amputee, so I have a lot of problems that the normal population doesn't have. And I don't take drugs, I just take a few Advils a day, and I pretty much deal with it. So when I started with Qigong, I was just looking for something that would just help me with some of the things that I experience every day. And I really feel that I found that now that I'm doing Qigong, I actually do it every day. I go to the sessions with you, and then I actually do it every day. It might not be as long each day, but I do some every day.
Oh, wonderful.
It just helps me. It just makes me feel a lot better.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned too that we have had a couple of experiences in class where we did particular healing work with you, and you had kind of a big response to that. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, in addition to the daily aches and pains, and a lot of my nerves are caught and things like that, so it does help that way. But I had two huge experiences, and I know it was related to Qigong, and I couldn't wait to tell you the following week what happened, and that's exactly what I did. Whenever I do Qigong, we as a group, many of us get hot. We just get warm from the exercise and from the energy. And that was what I was feeling most days when I would go and have it. I'd just get some heat, and then we would just, finish the session, and I was fine. And then one day, I had done some Qigong that morning before coming in, and we were doing it, and I don't think we even were halfway through. And then suddenly, I just felt so much heat coming within my body. You know how at first I thought, oh my God, I must be getting the flu, but the flu is different. The flu, when you get a temperature, it's on your head, you feel around, you say, oh, I must be getting the flu, I must be hot, something like that. All of this was like a furnace burning inside of me, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to disrupt your class. So I just started feeling it, and then I felt like I was just getting, like hotter and hotter. So I sat down and I said, okay, I'll just cool off. So I sat down and I continued. The heat just continued and continued, and I didn't want to get sick in the room. So quietly I got up, I grabbed my coat, and I had made plans to have lunch with the girls at the place that day. I just got my coat, I said, I'm sick, I can't make lunch, and they're like, hope you feel better, and I walked out. I got home not knowing what to do with myself, and let's just say that like everything emptied out of me intestinally, and then I was just like so tired, and glad that was over. And I slept for about 4 or 6 hours. This is like early morning. This is not my norm, but I just felt like it was like after that blast of heat, my whole body was just like so intense, and I just slept. And then when I got up, I was like, am I okay? Do I need to see a doctor? What just happened to me? But then I realized that I felt really, really, really good.
Wonderful.
I was very relieved that whole thing was over, of course, but I also just felt like you feel when you just recover from an illness or something like that, and then you get your strength back, and then you're smiling again. And I was hungry, and I was like, cool, I'm not dying. It was just, and then I realized it was like, just like a release. it was just like whatever I needed to release just released in that heat.
Wonderful.
So it was kind of like the flu cleanses you when you have the flu, they say,
Yeah.
but this was just like, 50 times the flu. So it was really nice, and I was glad that I told you about it, and you said that that was a good thing, me heating up. And I think too, with the whole history of the cancer and all that, it, probably, I'm fine, and I've been fine for 45 years, but you don't know. So anyway, I appreciated that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And then there was another experience where we did an individual healing on you
Yeah.
in the class.
Oh, and just to add, because I thought about this, after that experience, I actually missed a few classes because I was afraid of going because I had to work afterward. And I thought if I heat up again, I'm not going to make it to work.
And now have you gotten to where you're understanding that experience better and able to, because I know this week everybody in class was saying that they were really feeling all the energy in the
I
room.
get some level all the time. We all do, I think, different levels of heat, but not like that day.
Mhm.
That was just way over the top. It was just like just being on fire inside.
Yeah. You really activated your internal energy.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then the other time, when you said there was an experience with your heart.
Yeah, I was real surprised at you. So we started the class, and Catherine, I always call her Kathleen, Catherine, asked if anybody had any sort of requests. And that morning I had woke up and my left ear was kind of, a little bit painful, no big thing, but I said, hey, I'm here. And I mentioned it to her, and I said, yeah, my ear feels a little funny, my left ear feels funny. So she came over, and they had learned during one of the classes that I didn't attend, they had learned the, the scissor things and things.
The sword fingers.
Sword fingers and things, so
healing
she
procedure.
pulled them over, and I had missed that class, so they did some stuff with my ear, and that was fine, and I'm not sure, it was fine. But then, just randomly, she looked at me and said, this is after they did their part. So I thought we were done, and she said, I want to do a healing on your heart. And I was real surprised. I was like shocked because I've had this situation with my heart for a really long time, and I call it a heart swoosh. There's something that happens where it just feels like there's a change in the way that my blood is circulating. And I had mentioned that my son's an EMT, and I mentioned it to my daughter, and this is just something that happens over the last number of years. I just have a heart swoosh. It's not diagnosed. I call it a heart swoosh. And so I was real surprised when she said, let me do a healing. Because I didn't ask her. I didn't say anything. I didn't mention it. I mentioned my ear, not my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So she did her thing, and it felt really kind of nice, maybe because she's so graceful when she does her things with her arms, and it just felt good. I felt like I was like being taken care of, and she did this whole heart thing around here. I don't know. Do you know? Can you show me?
Sure, I can give an example of how it works. What I did was I just I was working.
See, I want to get this free.
Yeah. I was working with the energy of your heart.
Okay.
And when you work with the heart, what you want to do is you fill it with love first. And so I just did a procedure like this where it was just palming energy to your heart. And then I was working from the outside to the inside. It's just a very simple, basic level 2 Qigong healing technique. And I was just doing this with your heart. And I had shown the class how to do this also in the past. So I believe we had everybody join in then also and do a little bit of additional practice also working with you. And just looking at, okay, what can we do to just kind of help anything that might be blocked in your heart.
Oh, now I'm starting to understand it better.
Yeah.
Because when you say
transformed, yeah. Because with all of this, we're always just working with where's the energy blocked in the system, and helping to transform it. You can't create energy, you can't destroy it, but you can transform it. And so Qigong is really all about transformation and helping anything that isn't serving you to transform into something beautiful like a butterfly that flies away, to allow you to experience your best health.
Well, now this is making more sense to me. So, all of them stood there and gave me this heart healing, and so I went home after this, and I felt tired. I felt a lot of love. I felt like I was being taken care of, like, you know, like when a good nurse takes care of you, or your mom takes care of you when you're sick or something like that. It was all really good feeling. I felt like I was like, you know, like kind of singled out. It felt good to get the attention and get all this healing. But anyway, again, I went home after this, and it didn't take too terribly long. I felt tired again, and I felt kind of just fatigue. And so again, I laid down, and this is not my norm. And this is the strangest thing. My left, remember you had worked on my left ear. What happened then was that only out of my left eye. So, I mean, I've cried hundreds of thousands of times, I mean, over the course of my life. And when you cry, tears come out of both eyes, you know, and that's how you cry, and you make some noise, whatever. This was very, very different in that tears just started flowing out of my left eye. And I'm not sure what the significance is of the left eye. You know, my arm and amputation is on the left, so I'm sensitive to the left. But nonetheless, I would just lay down, and I couldn't help but notice that I wasn't crying in the usual way. I just had a flow. And it was kind of like, I thought of grief, because when you lose someone, you go about your day, and you have lunch, and you take care of yourself, and you might go to work, whatever, but then the grief comes when you're alone, you know, and that's when you miss that person, and then the tears come. And I live alone, luckily. So I just continued to get this flow out of my left eye throughout the course of the next 2 or 3 days. And it would, like, when it was happening, I felt like it was okay. I wasn't concerned about it. I felt like it was just okay. In fact, I got so much that the blood vessel actually broke in my eye, but that's something that I have from time to time. But it just continued. It would be like I'm laying on my pillow and it's flowing. And then a little bit later, I may not have gotten up yet for some reason. And again, this is not me to do this during the day. And then it would flow some more. And then evening would come. I would go about my day, go shopping, do whatever. I'd be alone, and then I'd feel more come up. That's why I thought of grief, the way it just comes in waves, and you can't really control it. But you know, when you're grieving, that it's a good thing to release these feelings and these emotions and this pain, and you know, and after you grieve, then you could pick up your life, and you still miss that person or whatever, but then you just continue on without them. And that's what it really felt like. So I wasn't really clear, you know, on what was happening, but I felt like it was okay. It was okay that all this stuff, and I'm not quite sure what it was, came up, and I thought about it, and I said, oh, I have to tell Kathleen this one, because this was huge. And I thought about it, and I go, I haven't had a heart swoosh for days, and I still have not had a heart swoosh. So whatever it was, I feel like it had to just leave my body. And the way both times, it left my body in two very different ways, but it did, you know. I've gone through a lot more than most people have. In addition to the cancer and all, I had a real abusive marriage, and I left that man a few years ago, so there's like 25 years of memories and abuse and lots of other things, along with the really good things, of course. But I feel like, you know, I carried a lot of this. My back is like scoliosis between this and just, I guess, being like a victim and hiding myself and not, you know, just the whole thing. You know, there's just so much pain and so many memories and so many experiences, you know. But then they just sort of came out, you know, one way or another. They just left me. So
did it leave you with a lighter feeling then?
it did. I laugh now because I feel two things right now over these last weeks. It's a few weeks since all of this. What I feel, I got a new job. I've been doing a lot of things now that I never did in my life while I was this victim, either not only for the amputation, but a victim to my husband, and things. And I just feel freedom, number one, freedom. And I just feel peace. There's times now, I used to have a tremendous amount of anxiety. I mean, I had to, because of him, but I just feel a lot of peace. I get a lot of real peaceful feelings. I'm alone, and sometimes I do get lonely because I'm used to having a family. I'm used to that, but my kids are grown. But the peace is unbelievable. It's wonderful. So, and I just feel like I'm just doing a lot of stuff I didn't do before, and kind of coming out of my shell, and it feels really good to be more independent and free of all of this weight and all of these memories and all of this pain and all of these things. So
It's wonderful.
I have you to thank for that.
Well, thank you, and you have yourself to thank for that.
Yeah.
And I thank you that both you and the entire group that comes to the Banta Center where you've done Qigong with me. It's wonderful, and it is such a loving environment. It's really an honor for me to get to do this with you and to bring this practice to all of you. I appreciate
And
it
we
very much.
so appreciate you and that you're doing this for us too.
Okay.
And it is far out. It's very kind of different, you know, working with energy and things. But I've always been very sensitive to energy because I do feng shui, and I've been doing feng shui for about 20 years. It's different because you're picking up all of the energy in a room. But I'm very energy sensitive because I do feng shui, and I did a lot of interior design. So energy is really something that I can feel and sense. This is entirely different because it's going through my body, but I understand the importance of energy, and I respect it, and I respect you for working with it. It's just a whole different way of working with it. Very cool though.
Wonderful. Well, and thank you very much for sharing your story with us today. That was very wonderful, and thank you for being so open with your experiences and all that you've gone through.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
I feel so much better.